Week 4 in college football is starting this week. Actually, it starts on Thursday. We'll break them all down. We'll start in the conference play, where actually there are 2 final non-conference plays. Everybody else is actually in conference play this week. The teams that aren't in non-conference play, of course, as we all know, my Sooners went out of conference because they played Iowa State, because their opponent this week, Army, is an independent. Who does Iowa State play? Find out that and much more next. Boomer Sooner 1982. Don't go away! Welcome back to the show, everybody. 2018 college football picks, week 4 in the set. Starting in the Big 12 with one of the 2 non-conference games this week. Oklahoma had to move theirs back because Army isn't independent, so they played Iowa State last week to start conference play. Iowa State also jumps back outside of the conference, where they will play Akron, play them in Ames. I'm going to actually take Iowa State in this one on Fox Sports Net. They'll get the first win of the year for the Cyclones. The 2:30 kickoffs, the 2:30 kickoff in the Big 12 at least, on ABC or ESPN2 regional, or ESPN regional. Sorry, Kansas State in the Motown at West Virginia. I'm going to take West Virginia in this matchup just for it'll be interesting to find out what happens there. 3:30 matchup, Kansas at Baylor on Fox Sports 1. I'm actually going to take Baylor in this matchup. I'm really impressed with what Kansas did the last 2 weeks, but now that they're on a level playing field on the road, can they do it again? We'll find out against Baylor. I'm taking Baylor. 4:30 on National Fox. Texas Christian tries to bounce back on the road at Texas on Fox. I'm actually going to take TCU in this ball game. I really liked what I saw from both teams. It's just that I don't know if Texas can do that consistently back-to-back-to-back weeks. And I know TCU can do it consistently in back-to-back-to-back weeks over the years. So we're taking TCU in the ball game. The 6 o'clock games are Sooners. Army, West Point at Oklahoma. Fox Sports pay-per-view, Sooner Sports TV. And on the regular Fox channels, Fox Family, Fox Sports 1, actually, Tech, that's Texas Tech, is in Stilley at Oklahoma State. I'm actually going to take Oklahoma State in this ball game. They just got a big-time win over Boise, and they're going to continue the streak, and they're going to keep it going against Tech. That's the Big 12 games. What about the national landscape? We do have a couple of national landscape things if things clear out. Like, if things clear out in Philly, we'll have Tulsa at Temple on the ESPN. I'm going to take the Temple Owls in this one. Friday, our old buddy Josh Heupel of Central Florida. They will host Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic at Central Florida at 6 o'clock on ESPN. I'm actually going to take Heupel in Central Florida in this matchup. Fox Sports 1 has a Big Ten game between the Penn State Lions. They will be at Illinois, the Fighting Illini. I'm taking Penn State in this ball game. The Pac-12 had the super late game at 9:30. Washington State will be at Southern Cal on ESPN. If this was at Washington State, I would feel a lot more good about taking Mike Leach. But since the game's in Southern Cal, I'm going to take Southern Cal. They're going to find a way to figure out what went wrong against the Horns. 11 a.m. games. Speaking of teams that have already played Texas, Maryland has already played Texas. They're on a pretty big winning streak right now. And on the Big Ten Network, you will see Minnesota at Maryland. I'm going to take Maryland in this ball game. The Big Ten Network also will have Buffalo at Rutgers on Fox on the Big Ten Network. I'm sorry. I'm actually going to take the Buffalo in this ball game. I've just not been impressed with what I've seen from Rutgers. There's a Big Ten game on the national landscape of things on Fox Sports 1. You'll see Nebraska. They'll try to get back on track as they will be at the Big House at Michigan. I'm actually going to take Harbaugh and Michigan in this ball game on Fox Sports 1. ESPN 2 will have Boston College at Purdue, another one of those Big Ten teams. I'm actually going to take Boston College in this ball game on ESPN 2. ESPN, our nemesis from the Rose Bowl, Georgia, will be at Missouri on ESPN. I'm going to take the Bulldogs of Georgia. ABC, Notre Dame will be at Wake Forest. I'm going to take the Irish of Notre Dame. The SEC Network for the 11 a.m. kickoffs. Kent State at Ole Miss. Ole Miss just took one to the chin against Alabama, but to be honest, who hasn't taken one on the chin to Alabama over the years? We'll take Ole Miss. By the way, the Sooners haven't. Just saying. Battle from Ohio is on ESPNU. The University of Ohio will be at Toledo. I'm going to take the Rockets. The game will be on CBS Sports Network. And finally, on the ESPN News Network, Navy will be at Southern Methodist. Navy at SMU, ESPN News. I'm taking SMU. 11:20 a.m. kickoffs. The ACC Network online will bring you Pittsburgh at North Carolina. I'm going to take the Tar Heels of North Carolina, even though it's not football season quite yet. Let's see, 11:30 a.m. Louisville, University of Louisville will be at Virginia on ESPN 3. I'm going to go with the Cavaliers of Virginia. No noon games. Jumping down to the 1 o'clock games, where there's one of them. Western Michigan will be at Georgia State on the new ESPN Plus network. I'm taking Western Michigan in this ball game. 2 o'clock games. Western Kentucky will be at Ball State at 2 o'clock on ESPN3.com. I'm taking Ball State on the ESPN Go. ESPN Plus will have two other ones. Maine will be at Central Michigan. I'm going to take Central Michigan. And Miami of Ohio will be at Bowling Green. I'm going to take Bowling Green. Both games on ESPN Plus. And finally, on the AT&T Sports Rocky Mountain Network, Illinois State will be at Colorado State. I'm going to go with Colorado State and the Rams. The sandwich games in the middle. Big Ten action. Tulane at Ohio State at 2:30 on the Big Ten Network. I'm actually going to take Ohio State in this ball game. They're going to be ready for that'll set them up for Penn State next week. Clemson will be at Georgia Tech on ABC. Oral buddy Brent Venables has that defensive line ready to go, and they'll be ready to go against Georgia Tech. Give me the Clemson Tigers. ESPN 2 at 2:30, Florida International. FIU will play the regular Miami, the Hurricanes of Miami, of Florida. ESPN 2. I'm taking the Canes. ACC Network. NCCU will be at Dukies, at Duke on ABC on the ACC Network, I'm going to take Dick. They just beat Baylor pretty bad. They're going to beat NCCU pretty bad too. Northern Illinois at Florida State. The game will be on ESPN, the U, and I'm actually going to take Florida State. One thing that helped Ohio State last week is actually having better athletes. The 4 and the 5-star kids over the 2 and the 3-star kids from TCU. By the way, TCU actually played well in that ball game. So give me the 4 and 5-star recruits from Florida State. So they'll beat Northern Illinois, ESPNU at 2:30. 2:30 also, CBS Sports Network. Our old buddy Justin Fluente, our Oklahoma Sooner fans, will take his Virginia Tech Hokies on the road at ODU. That's Old Dominion. I'm going to take Virginia Tech. ESPN Plus will have Gardner Webb at Appalachian State. I'm taking Appalachian State. The new 11 Sports Network, Charlotte, will be at the University of Massachusetts. I'm taking UMass. And the CBS Spotlight game, at least for CBS and the SEC, Texas A&M will be at Alabama. If this was played at Kyle Field, I think that Alabama and Fisher might win. Jimbo might win. But at Alabama, it's going to be a bit harder. I'm taking Alabama. 3 p.m. games. Arizona will be at Oregon State. That one's on the Pac-12 network. I'm going to take the Beavers. University of Connecticut will be at Syracuse on ESPN News at 3 o'clock. I'm taking Syracuse. And Vanderbilt tries to get back on track after the loss last week to Notre Dame, as they will host South Carolina. South Carolina at Vanderbilt, SEC Network. I'm taking Vandy. 5 o'clock. McNeese State at BYU on the ESPN3. Well, they just beat up on Wisconsin, who doesn't lose at home very often. So if they can beat Wisconsin on the road, they can easily beat McNeese State in Morgantown, in Mormon country, right? Brigham Young? Yeah, they can. And they will. Our old buddy Seth Luttrell, another former Sooner, will take his North Texas Mean Green at Liberty. ESPN3.com at 5 o'clock. I'm taking the Mean Green Eagles. 6 o'clock. The battle for Louisiana is on ESPNU. That's Louisiana Tech at Louisiana State, LSU. Taking LSU in a night game. Why not? Mississippi State at Kentucky, ESPN2. Taking our old buddy, the Stoops boys, and Kentucky. Give me Kentucky. ESPN3, UNLV at Arkansas State. Arkansas State just came up here and beat up on Tulsa, a good Tulsa team that took Texas to the brim. So that means that they can win the home game against UNLV. Yes, they can, and they will. Coastal Carolina, CCC, will be at Louisiana Lafayette. I'm going to take Coastal Carolina. Rice will be at Southern Miss on ESPN Plus. I'm taking Southern Miss. By the way, the Coastal Carolina Louisiana game, Lafayette game, by the way, also ESPN Plus. And ESPN Plus also has Troy State at UTSA. I'm taking San Antonio. They also have one more game, Troy at Louisiana Monroe on ESPN Plus. I'm taking Monroe. NC State tries to get their regular season back to regular form, as they will be at Marshall on CBS Sports Network. I'm taking Marshall. And ESPN, the final game at 6 o'clock, a night game in the Knoxville, Tennessee. Been there, done that. It was a blast. And they will host Florida in that night game. Give me Tennessee in that one. 6:30, 3 games. Michigan State at Indiana at 6:30. Big Ten Network. Give me the Hoosiers. Arkansas at Auburn. SEC Network. I think Auburn gets back on track. New Mexico at UTEP. That's Texas El Paso. ESPN3. Give me UTEP. 7 o'clock. The primetime games include ABC, Stanford at Oregon. Oregon. Give me Oregon. South Florida will host East Carolina. East Carolina at South Florida. ESPN News. Give me USF. ESPN 3 has 2 games. Texas Southern at Houston. Give me Houston. South Alabama at Memphis. Give me Memphis. And on the regular tube, you can watch Wisconsin. The Badgers. They try to get back on track on the road at the University of Iowa on Fox. Give me the Hawkeyes of Iowa. 9:15. The Air Force Academy. The final of the academies. Air Force at Utah State. ESPN The Deuce. At 9:15. Give me Utah State and the Aggies. Also on 9:15. Arizona State at Washington. ESPN. Give me the dub. That's Washington. Huskies. 9:30 Eastern Michigan at San Diego State on CBS Sports Network. I'll take San Diego State in the win. And finally, 9:59 p.m. Duquesne will be at Hawaii on the Spectrum OC Hawaii pay-per-view. I'm taking the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. All right, guys. My name's Harry James. Don't take these picks to Vegas, guys. I'm not the best picker. But if you want to take them to Vegas, send me at least part of your winnings. All right. Or don't. You don't have to. But you do have to watch this and all my other videos on the YouTube. Boomer Sooner 1982. On the YouTube. On Facebook. Harry James Taylor. It's right there on my Facebook account. Also on my Twitter at HypeManHarry. Alright guys, thanks for watching and enjoy this week 4 of college football. I'm out of here guys. See ya!